Welcome back. Salt Lake County Mayor Ben McAdams is challenging Representative Love in the 4th District. Mayor McAdams, great to have you with us. Thanks for being on the show.
Great to be on the show.
It's been a while, so let's get right into this. Why Congress and why the 4th District? Because it's not the district you live in.
You know, one of the things I love about being mayor is we just get stuff done. We work across the aisles. There's not really a Republican or Democrat.
Hence why go to Congress?
Well, you know, I think part of my frustration has been that with all the solutions we're working on, the seat at the table that has the greatest ability to impact Utah for good is the congressional seat. And it just feels like that we've had an empty seat at that table. We haven't had an advocate working for the people of Utah. And so I felt that I could step in, bring my experience as mayor, my ability to build coalitions, to work across the aisle and get things done. And you know, the 4th Congressional District, 85% of the 4th Congressional District is in Salt Lake County. This is the area that I know the issues. I've worked hard for the people of the 4th Congressional District. And it just felt like the natural fit for me to work for the people who, you know, I've been a public servant as the mayor of Salt Lake County, public servant working for the interests of this district, 85% of this district for the last 6 years, and the issues that are near and dear to my heart, whether it's, you know, addressing healthcare concerns for people in this district, air quality, transportation and traffic congestion. I want to work on those issues in Washington where I really feel like I can have an impact.
We'll get to more of those issues in a minute. This is a heated race, negative in ways. What's your response from what you're seeing come from the opposing campaign? You
know, I've been really disappointed at the negative tone they've taken. We have tried to talk about the issues, what I've done, my track record as mayor, what I hope to do in Congress. You know, campaigns are about contrast as well, and so we have talked about, you know, my plans and my commitment to reduce health care costs and to shore up and save Social Security, and some of my opponents' views contrary on that. And I think that's what elections are about, is about differing ideas and putting those ideas forward and letting the voters make a decision. I have been disappointed to see how negative they've been and really taken this to a place that's not about the issues, that's more negative and more attack, and that's been disappointing to me. I think the voters deserve better.
You bill yourself as a bipartisan politician. Talk about that and how you have implemented that in the past.
Yeah, you know, as a public servant, people have seen me work across party lines, form strong relationships with Republicans, Speaker Greg Hughes, Lieutenant Governor Spencer Cox, as we've come together to work for solutions to address homelessness, working with Speaker Hughes to expand access to health care and bring new dollars to expand health care coverage to people here in Utah through our Medicaid expansion plan, working with mayors throughout Salt Lake County to address some of our traffic and transportation needs. People who know me have seen my track record of putting partisan interests aside and really working to find solutions, bring people together, and move us forward.
So that's here in Salt Lake County on a local level. Mm-hmm. How do you do that, though, in a Washington, D.C. that is more partisan than probably ever?
Yeah, I mean, it's really disappointing. I think both parties are to blame for the partisanship we see in Washington. You know, when I was looking at running, I had a Republican elected official say to me, you know, they said, look, I can't support you publicly, but I've seen you work. I've seen you work across the aisle, and that's exactly what we need in Washington. And I agree, Washington isn't going to fix itself. Washington is completely broken, and we as Americans and as Utahns are feeling the burden of a broken Washington. It's not going to save itself. It's not going to fix itself. I believe in this country. We've done incredible things, and I think this country has a bright future ahead of us. But it's not going to change unless we elect people who are going to go back there and put the interests of the people right here in Utah, the Americans' interest of American public first, ahead of your party, ahead of the next election, and just work to solve problems.
You brought up the rising cost of health care. It's something people feel in their lives. Yeah. What specifically would you do to get those costs down? You
know, one of the things we've done at Salt Lake County was, well, we've seen, because of votes in Congress and a vote from Representative Love, even just this last year, we've seen healthcare costs increase by 20%. People are feeling that in their pocketbook, in their family budgets. I'm talking to people who are really concerned.
Are you referring to the vote to repeal the Affordable Care Act?
Yeah. I'm talking about you know, the tax bill that really has shifted a burden on healthcare onto the backs of Utah families who can't afford their healthcare. We're seeing, you know, Representative Love has supported the return of pre-existing conditions and other things that are really have people worried, understandably so. And it has to be a bipartisan solution. I'd say you look at Democrats rammed through a proposal without a single Republican vote.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's an important point, because we saw costs increasing under the Affordable Care Act as well.
So I think you saw a Democratic proposal without a single Republican vote that solves some problems like pre-existing conditions and allowing kids to stay on their parents' health care through the age of 26. It did some good things. It also had some negative consequences and wasn't perfect. And then you see a Republican approach that also they pushed through without a single Democratic vote, and it also has some solutions, but it's causing some problems. What we need is people who are going to come together and say, look, both parties have some ideas, have some proposals to address some of this. Let's bring it together and find a bipartisan approach to addressing healthcare concerns. We've done it at Salt Lake County. When I was elected mayor, we saw the cost for the county to provide health care to our employees was increasing by 16% every year. We instituted some initiatives, and we've brought that down to seeing it increase by 5 to 6% every year.
Okay, let's talk real quick Social Security and Medicare. We're all paying into it. We wonder if it's going to be there for us.
Yeah.
How can you ensure it will be there for us?
Well, you know, that's another stark point of distinction between myself and Representative Mia Love is I think we need to maintain the commitments we've made to aging adults in Utah, that they've paid into a system of Social Security and Medicare for a lifetime, and they expect that to be there. And we have to honor that commitment that we've made to them. What you've seen at the federal level is reckless spending. In the last year, increases to the federal deficit by almost $2 trillion. That reckless spending is the biggest threat to Social Security and Medicare. And they have already said, and Representative Love has already said, that they're going to seek to address that deficit and that reckless spending decisions of the past through cuts to Medicare and Social Security. What we need is federal budgeting that is responsible. You know, we've done this at Salt Lake County. I balance the budget every year. We get bipartisan support. We have a AAA bond rating. We need elected officials in Washington who are going to act in a fiscally responsible way if we want to preserve those programs like Social Security and Medicare that we care about and that people depend on.
30 seconds left. What's your pitch to our viewers about what's at stake in this election?
You know, I think a lot is at stake at this election. What's going to happen with your health care? Are pre-existing conditions going to come back? Are you going to be denied health care because of pregnancy or asthma or other things like that? Are you going to have that Social Security and Medicare that you've planned on for your entire life? Is it going to be there when you need it in your aging years? Are we going to send somebody to Washington who cares more about solutions than they care about any particular party? Representative Love has voted with the president 97% of the time, putting the special interests and loyalty to her party ahead of the loyalty to people in Utah. So if you want somebody who's going to work across the aisle and build coalitions to find solutions, I would ask for them to vote for me.
On that note, we have to end it there. Thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Okay, thanks, Glenn.
Right after the break, we are going to weigh into Proposition 3, expanding Medicaid in the state of Utah. Stay with us.